My Father's work, worldwide, presents. Why? Why? Why is America being invaded today? That's my question. Why are we being invaded? By the enemy? You know, God has to know it's happening. He knows it. He's our Father. He's our supporter, our protector, and He knows it's happening. But why is He letting it happen? Why is the once greatest and most powerful country in the world, in all history, today, a worldwide joke? We're a joke. America is a joke of the world today. We are. I don't like it. I'm an American. But we are. The president can't make sense, any sense at all, when he speaks. The vice president sounds like a half-wit when she tries to speak. I'm not saying she is a half-wit. I don't know. But she sounds like one because she can't make any sense either. The top leaders of my country, our country, America, the United States of America today sound like morons. Morons! When they try to speak. We're a sad joke before the whole world. We are. I have to admit it. We are. We're a sad joke before this whole world. Nobody is like us. Nobody was greater. Now nobody is less than we are. How does that happen? How does that happen? From the greatest nation on the earth to the greatest joke on the earth. Well, let me tell you. I'm going to tell you how that happened. Not how it's going to happen, not how it happens, but I'm going to tell you how it happened. When you are a once Christian nation serving the Lord your God, teaching your children to serve God, who completely turns its back on God, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. It has to. I showed in my first video, entitled Introduction to My Father's Work, Worldwide, how it's happened many, many times all throughout history, all throughout our history, and with the same results. The same results every time. They went into slavery. Our forefathers went back into slavery and lost their identity. Do you not know we've lost our identity today as a Christian nation? Because we're no longer a Christian nation. We're no longer known as a Christian nation because we are a heathen, pagan nation on this earth. When God freed the slaves from Egypt and took them to the promised land, He drove out the inhabitants from before them. He drove them out. and gave his people their land. Why? Why did he drive those people out and replace them? Remember that. He replaced them. Replaced them. Because they were heathen. They were pagans. They worshipped idols and murdered their own children and sacrificed them to their false gods. Today in America, we live, you and I, we live as the pagans did at that time. We ignore the true God. If we even admit he exists at all, we've even named the days of the week after their pagan gods. Yeah, we have. We call the months of the year by their names. The pagan gods, the false gods, the idols of the heathen. We even teach our children about Zeus. Zeus for the sky and thunder god. Thor, a prominent god in Germanic paganism. In Norse mythology, he is a hammer-wielding god associated with lightning and thunder, storms, sacred groves and trees, strength, and here it is, the protection of humankind. What? Instead of the true God, it's the pagan false gods who protect us? Really? 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 Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 9. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. Fourth book of the Old Testament. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 9. Moses is telling the children of Israel how to behave when they come into the promised land. Deuteronomy 18, verse 9. When you are come into the land which the Lord your God gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you any one that makes his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. Passing through the fire, they sacrificed their children to their false gods. The ones we are admiring, at the very least admiring today, verse 11. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancy is the practice of magic involving communication with the dead by summoning their spirits as apparitions or visions for the purpose of divination, imparting the means to foretell future events. Heathenism, paganism, that's it. Verse 12. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord your God drove them out from before you, not 1 mile from my home and my studio here. Is a palm reader who has a sign in front of her place advertising these very things. We're right back where they were when God drove them out of their country. And remember, replaced them. He replaced them. We are replacing God, the true God. How dare we? How dare we? Just like the pagans of old replaced our God, the true God, with their pagan idols, pagan gods. You think we won't be punished for that? Really? Oh, yes, we will be. And it's beginning now. Actually, it's already begun. And I can't tell you exactly when it began, but it's happening now. At this time, last 4 years have been the turbocharged happening of it. We are being replaced. Remember, I said, replaced. The heathen were being replaced by God's children. And now God's children, what used to be God's children, are being replaced in our own country just like they were. Wake up! Wake up! You got to look and you got to see. We're being replaced by many evil, murderous pagans. Some 20 million that we know of, and at least 20 million more that we don't know of. One of them just last week set an elderly woman on fire, set her on fire, and watched her burn in New York City. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago now. I'm very late with this video. We, God's children of old, are being replaced in our own country like the ancient pagans were being replaced from their country. This is happening all over again. But to us this time, can you not see it? Can you not see it? Well, no, you can't if you don't read the Old Testament. That's the importance of the Old Testament. Many Americans will probably remain here. I don't know. But I know this. They will be rolled over, abused, and enslaved right in their own country unless what? You know, unless we repent. Unless we repent. Deuteronomy 28, verse 43. God warns, the stranger that is within you shall get up high above you, very high, and you shall come down very low. That stranger was Barry Soetoro from Indonesia, a.k.a. Barry Obama, a.k.a. Barack Obama. When have we ever had a president with AKAs at all? Aliases. When? Well, we have now. Barry was a total stranger to Americans, yet they fell for all the lies in his history. And I'll tell you, once it comes time for prophecy to be fulfilled, I have found it will be fulfilled. And God decides that. I don't. You don't. Nobody does. God decides that. Leviticus. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. Third book of the Old Testament. Chapter 19. Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19, verse 27. You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shall you mar the corners of your beard. The reason I think for that command is because the heathen did that. That's what the heathen did. The heathen, the pagans, made shapes and designs with their hair and their beard, just like we're seeing today in America. Same thing. Today, more and more Americans are even looking like the heathen of ancient times. Tattoos all over the bodies. Pagan facial hair, which is trimmed to make satanic-looking designs on their face. Metal all in their faces, and even some are making horns on their heads. Satanic. One of the worst ones, in my mind, the satanic looking ones may be the worst, but in my mind, the one that bothers me the most is where men are shaving their face except for around their mouth. Everything else is clean, but around their mouth. I ask you, do you know what hair on both sides of the split in the middle looks like? it's not funny, but I'm sorry, I'm not. Hair on both sides of a split, and it's on your mouth. Do you not have any mirrors? And of course, look, how you dress yourself is none of my business, and I'm not your mommy, I'm not your daddy, but I just want to let you know what that looks like. Hair on both sides of a split. We all know what that looks like. And I don't want to embarrass you. I really don't mean to embarrass you, but I really, really believe if I was going around with that on my mouth, I'd want somebody to call it to my attention. And that's all I have to say about that. That's it. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to make you mad. I don't want to drive you away from God. I'm hoping to bring you to God. And if you're wondering why this invasion is happening to us, I just told you. It's because we turned our back on God, so we're being removed and replaced from the promised land. We inherited the promised land, but because we ignore God, we're being replaced. Removed and replaced just like the heathens of old. Removed from the promised land and enslaved just like the pagans of old. We've come 360 degrees from the time God moved the ancient pagans and gave their land to our forefathers. Now it's our time to be replaced and to lose this, the great promised land. Because we have forsaken God, but we make heroes of Thor, Zeus, and the many pagan gods. We've even named our planets. The universe planets after the pagan gods. Mercury, the Roman god of travel. Venus, Roman goddess of love and beauty. Mars, Roman god of war. Jupiter, Roman god. Roman kings of gods. Notice all this Roman. Saturn, Roman god of agriculture. See, we depend on them for everything, don't we? We replace God with them. Uranus, Greek god, Greek king of gods. We're getting what we deserve. And if we're reading the Old Testament, we know that. If we're reading the Old Testament, we understand that. You don't know it if you don't read the Old Testament. That's why I read it, that's why I study it, and that's why I bring it to you so you can know what's happening to us today. Now, I don't want to make you mad. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to drive you away from God, our Father, like I fear that many religious groups and churches do today. I want to bring you to our Father. Proverbs 9, Old Testament. Proverbs 9, verse 9, chapter 9, verse 9. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in knowledge. Or in the NIV, New International Version, might be more clear, Proverbs 9, chapter 8. Do not rebuke mockers, or they will hate you. Oh, yes, they will. Rebuke the wise, though, and he will love you. He will love you. All my videos are at rumble.com/my Father's work worldwide, like the banner says. Be sure to subscribe and definitely share. Please share. That will do more to further the gospel and the teaching of the Bible. I'm not just teaching the gospel. I'm teaching the Bible cover to cover. That's the reason I cover the Old Testament and the New, because we need both. And I hope from this video you can see why we need both. We need the Old too. We're only half knowledgeable if we don't have the Old. Less than half, actually. Like, share, subscribe, so you'll be notified. But especially share. Especially share. That's how we take it around this whole world. And until next time, goodbye.